Hello to everybody. I think it's time to start this second panel. My name is Caterina Iena, the coordinator of the WISE4Challenge project working group. Firstly, I would give my most sincere thanks to all the attendees of this second panel, which now I'm going to moderate. During this part of the event, the WISE4Challenge project partner will present the result from the survey they ran in Italy, Belgium, and Spain, followed by a Q&A session and closing remarks by myself. All speakers will have 10 minutes each. I will give notice by word 1 minute before the time limit reaching. Attendees are called to participate actively to the event. Shall they be willing to submit questions to the partners? Please put down your question in the chat room in the right corner. I will take notes in the meantime and posing your question personally to the partners on your behalf. Now it's time to start. I'm going to introduce the Women Entrepreneurship Platform, or WEP in short. That is an international non-governmental association based in Brussels, representing, promoting, and advocating on behalf of women entrepreneurs from all the business sectors. On WEP behalf, we have Grazia Render, the founding chairwoman and vice president, and Charlene Lambert, the founding board members and treasurers. So the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Katrina, for your very kind introduction. And good morning to everybody. It's our great honor to be here this morning and to participate in this webinar. We'd like to thank ESCOM for including WEP in this important project. And it's been a fantastic experience to work on. First of all, I would like to quote President Ursula von der Leyen, who mentioned recently in a speech on the 1st of June that gender equality is a core principle of the European Union, but it is not yet a reality. And I think that underlies our work. We want to make sure that more women are become entrepreneurs, that we have access and we have their innovative and creative ideas solving the problems that we face. President von der Leyen said using only half of the population, half of the ideas, or half of the energy is not good enough. In our research, we focused only on women farmers and women in rural areas. So our agenda today is to talk about the WEP's role, what the survey and interviews, our findings, the focus group that we organized in particular on the topic of the multifunctional farm. We have some country highlights, let's say, and I have some interesting information on an upcoming presentation. The next slide, please. So WEP's role was to collect mostly qualitative data and report back on women's entrepreneurship, women farmers, and young women in agriculture and in rural areas, and their potential to lead and contribute to the Green Deal and the recovery program. We wanted to ensure that women's involvement in Europe, with the support of the WeGate platform in particular, will result in a successful Green Deal and sustainable recovery. We wanted to remind ourselves and everyone that sustainability includes economic, environmental, and social elements. And finally, we want to recognize that the EU Commission has an important untapped resource, which was recognized in their study of 2014. We believe that to be successful, the Green Deal, the recovery, and women's entrepreneurship should be inextricably intertwined. Next slide, please. So just to give you some highlights of the survey and interviews, we received 77 surveys to date. France was a large number of the, we got a lot of responses from France, but we also got responses from many other countries in Europe. Our surveys were distributed through COPA and COGECA, which is the European organization representing farmers, and through the WeGate platform. And this was through 2 public announcements on each of their websites, through their emails, and also to WEP members and contacts. And in this project, we worked very closely with the COPA Women's Committee, which is the Women's Committee of COPA and COGECA, the only COPA, though, at this point. And we worked very closely with them and their president. The survey was offered in 5 languages, English, French, Italian, and Spanish, with also interviews offered in Dutch and some German. We have some interviews and country reports, highlights from our contacts in Spain, the Netherlands, Italy, Ireland, Estonia, and Belgium. And we also had a focus group with the Women's Committee of COPA, and this was regard to the multifunctional farm. The multifunctional farm is a farm that has more than one use, and I'll be speaking about that in more detail. The next slide, please. So before I get into the key findings, I wanted to, first of all, stress the importance of the family farm and rural communities for all of us, for our health, for our survival. And it depends on strong rural communities and farms where our food is being produced for all of us to live healthy and happy lives. So that's a fundamental point that I think we all need to recognize. In our research, we had a survey with 10 questions, and we had also opportunities for people to give other responses other than to the exact points that we were raising. We found that there's a need to improve the quality and accessibility of infrastructure in rural areas. All of our contacts said broadband needs to be improved. Facilities and services such as child care, elderly care, health care, schools, and other support mechanisms can make a huge difference in women's entrepreneurship and women's innovation in agriculture. We realize, though, that these services differ by country. Some countries said they had adequate services. Others, a number of others, in fact, said that they didn't have access to adequate services. Farm work entails a 7-day work week. Measures for parental leave, sick leave, replacement, and paid holidays must be in place to cover families' needs. And the support measures will in turn improve the living standards in rural areas and help to keep rural residents on the land, overcoming problems of isolation and rural exodus. Female-led cooperatives can assist in supporting rural and green entrepreneurship and are key actors capable of identifying needs, implementing mechanisms to address and solve social problems in rural areas. The multifunctional farm is important for rural development, securing the family farm and offering women farmers a chance to have their own financial security. And the participation of rural women in social and economic sphere will result in a range of benefits, including job creation, reduced inequalities, promotion of gender equality, reduction of the risk of poverty, prevention of depopulation of rural areas, and ensure that rural and agricultural activities contribute to biodiversity and sustainable food production. Next slide, please. Now we have some country highlights. These are not all of the highlights, but we selected 4 countries for this presentation. And I'll start with Ireland. Grazia will speak regarding Italy and Spain, and I'll finish with Belgium. In Ireland, what we learned in particular was that the Irish Farmers Association has published a diversity and inclusion report to ensure that women are in key positions at every level of the organization. They are also considering quotas if their strategy does not work. And I wanted to highlight also that it took a long time for the Irish Farmers Association to take action. This report was just published in 2019, but for many years there was no or little action taken. And we're so pleased to hear that they now have this diversity and inclusion report. The government launched training programs specifically for rural women aged 35 to 60 with a focus on confidence building, bookkeeping, digital skills, leadership, tourism, and entrepreneurship. And multifunctional farms are seen as linked to more successful farms than single-use farms. So multifunctional farms where women have a role to play in a secondary business. It could be related specifically to the farm with food production, or it could be with regard to tourism or care facilities or educational facilities. So in Ireland, the multifunctional farms are seen as much more successful than single-use farms. There's also a project that was initiated called Acorns, and this is in place already at least 4 to 5 years, and it's specifically to support women in rural areas with entrepreneurship. And more can be found on the website that's the link that's provided. Quetzia, would you like to take the floor?
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Valentina, to give us also the opportunity to work with you. I just would like to point out what happened in Italy. I was conducting a survey with the main Coldiretti Donna association. They are very supporting network towards women in agriculture. And they told me that at the moment in Italy there is a great spur for agriculture in a functionality use, because they want to change, to move their actual farm into agri-touristic sector. So there is a great interest from also people coming from abroad to go and see, for instance, Masserie or Vineyard in Veneto, just to stay there. So there is a great interest in touristic sector, so using the local farm. And also there is a great interest in Italy for a circular economy. So I must say the circular economy and agri-touristic sector are very important for women-led farms. But in the contrast, there are also some gaps on social services. We need more pension. We need also to have more secure childcare or elderly care for people working in the farms. And also there is a great interest of having and receiving digitalized networking or programs. So they want to have to receive more programs for women and for girls, and they need also to work in an affiliated way. Also, there is a request for incentives from our country, from Italy, to hire more women in this sector, because only in the last period there has been a support to access to credit, for instance. For this access to credit was implemented just 1 month ago for women in agriculture, that will give until 35% without expense for a led women enterprise in agriculture. So I must say that it's a situation very not black, not so black. I could say not so red, but it's a positive way. Instead, in Spain, Spain also is changing because they need a great support from the network. They need support not only for digital, for training program, but also for financial support, because there is a serious decline in rural Spain. So if we don't support, if Spanish government don't support this sector, they will be abandoned from the youth. Because, for instance, in Andalusia or in other southern regions, all these areas were changed into touristic areas. So the agricultural sector is very declining. So what they need more, they need also more access to credit, a credit that will be more function for women in agricultural sector. Also, they don't want to have larger amount, but real secure small amount for women in agriculture. And also there is a great need for modern digitalized networks and tools. They need also to work since the school period. So training from the school period until they became entrepreneurs. So we need to motivate more often young girls and youth in particular. Thank you so much.
Sorry for interrupting you, but you are largely out of time. So if you can just sum up.
Okay. So should we go to the next slide then? And then the next slide, just to highlight a webinar that we organized in June on a related topic with COPA. The president of COPA attended. And at that webinar, we discussed the fact that the women are at the bottom of the rung when it comes to education and training in digital technologies. And likewise, when it comes to access to finance, the support programs are not reaching women. And where only 2% of all initial funding is allocated for women-led startups. And so those are some of the key points that were raised there. And we also pointed out that we need all hands on deck in these challenging times. And the next slide, please. I would like to end with this slide, which is an upcoming conference where we will be presenting our research. It's with Wageningen University in the Netherlands, which is one of the world's leading agricultural universities. And we're so honored and pleased to also be part of this conference, which will be held for 4 days in October. And registration is open. There's no fee, and it will all be online. So there will be many interesting topics, and we hope that you will also join us there. So thank you so much again to ESCOM, to Katerina and Valentina in particular for your great support. And we look forward to continuing our collaboration.
Okay, thank you for this very interesting report and your most appreciated contribution to the WISE4 project.